The diplomatic hall of station hummed with the anxious murmur of 100 alien species. Aliana stood near the observation deck, her neural interface cataloging the fear that rippled through the crowd like a contagion. The atmospheric processors struggled to handle the varied biochemistries present, creating swirling patterns of condensation near the ceiling. She'd seen this reaction before, though never quite this intense. The Dragon family had arrived. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum viewports, Aliana watched their vessel approach, a biomechanical leviathan that defied conventional engineering principles. Its hull shifted and breathed organic tissue fused with exotic matter that her sensors couldn't fully analyze. The ship's very presence distorted local spacetime, causing minor gravitational eddies that made her stomach flutter. All delegates are advised to maintain minimum safe distance, the station's AI announced in 17 languages simultaneously. The Dragon family delegation will dock at Port 7. Attendees should remain in designated observation zones. Around Aliana, the crowd pressed backward. The insectoid Vrex clicked their mandibles in terror. The crystalline luminar dimmed their bioluminescence to near invisibility. Even the proud Korthan Empire's representatives, warriors who'd conquered 40 star systems, retreated behind tactical barriers. The Dragon family. Not dragons in the mythological sense, though humanity's ancient stories had somehow captured an echo of their reality. They were the Draconidae, one of the eldest spacefaring civilizations in the known galaxy, possibly in the universe itself. Their biology operated on principles that made quantum mechanics look like elementary arithmetic. They manipulated dark energy with thought alone, restructured matter at the subatomic level, and their youngest children possessed capabilities that would make them gods by any reasonable definition. And they were dying. Aliana had read the brief everyone had. The Dragon family's matriarch, SS Rathakar, had contracted a cosmological virus, an infection that existed partially outside conventional spacetime. It fed on quantum coherence itself, unraveling the fundamental forces that held her consciousness together across multiple dimensional brains. The Galactic Medical Consortium had examined her and stepped back. The disease was beyond them, perhaps beyond anyone. The matriarch had 3 offspring, each powerful enough to reshape solar systems. Without her stabilizing presence, they would destabilize. The psychological term was cascade resonance failure. The practical term was galactic catastrophe. The docking procedure began. Aliana felt it more than saw it, a localized distortion in reality as the Dragon ship interfaced with the station. Her implants threw warning symbols across her vision, complaining about causality violations and temporal inconsistencies. Then they emerged. SS Rathakar came first, and Aliana's breath caught despite her training. The matriarch stood nearly 4 meters tall, her form a symphony of iridescent scales that shifted between states of matter, solid, liquid, plasma, and stranger things. Her wings weren't physical structures but folded dimensions, spaces where normal geometry simply gave up. Eyes like binary stars regarded the assembled delegates with an intelligence that had watched civilizations rise and fall for epochs. Behind her came her children, Virmoth, whose very presence made the station's artificial gravity fluctuate, Carinthia, wreathed in what looked like controlled stellar fusion, and young Drisker, barely 3,000 years old, whose scales rippled with unreleased potential energy. The matriarch took 1 step forward. Every species in the hall took 1 step back. Every species except one. John had been waiting near the medical bay, reviewing the data for the 100th time. Dr. John Chen, xenobiological physician, specialist in exotic matter interactions, and currently the only human crazy enough to volunteer for this assignment. His colleagues had called him suicidal. His family had begged him to reconsider. The United Earth government had suggested he write a will. He'd done all those things, and he was still here. Now, as the Dragon family entered the diplomatic hall, John stepped forward. The effect was immediate. The crowd's murmur died completely. Aliana watched, her heart hammering against her ribs as this single human, fragile, short-lived, barely capable of faster-than-light travel, walked toward beings that could snuff out stars. John carried a medical case. It looked absurdly primitive next to the Dragon family's reality-bending presence, just a metal container with some electronics and biological samples. But Aliana knew what it represented. 3 months of desperate research, human ingenuity pushed to its absolute limits, and a treatment protocol so experimental that it made quantum surgery look conservative. SS Rathakar's great eyes fixed on John. The temperature in the hall dropped 10 degrees. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. "Matriarch SS Rathakar," John said, his voice steady despite the sweat on his brow. I'm Dr. John Chen, United Earth Medical Corps. I've reviewed your condition, and I believe I can help." A sound emerged from the matriarch, not quite language, but a vibration that resonated through Aliana's bones and set her teeth on edge. The station's translation matrix struggled, then produced words. "You, small thing, mayfly creature, you believe you can cure what the ancients cannot." "I believe I can try," John replied, "and right now I'm the only one willing to." Silence, then something that might have been laughter, a harmonic that made the viewport glass sing. "Show me." John opened his case. Aliana couldn't see the contents from her position, but she knew what he'd brought. A customized retroviral package designed to operate in 11 dimensions, nanomachines programmed with algorithms stolen from humanity's most advanced AI research, and a catalyst derived from the quantum foam that existed in the gaps between Planck-scale spacetime. It was insane, it was brilliant, it was the most human thing Aliana had ever witnessed. "The virus attacks your quantum coherence," John explained, activating a holographic display. "It's essentially a predatory wave function that collapses your multidimensional consciousness into single probability states. Traditional medicine can't touch it because it operates outside normal causality." "This we know," SS Rathakar said, her voice like grinding tectonic plates. "But here's what we figured out," John continued, undaunted. "Humans are really good at one thing: we're survivors. We evolved on a death world, we've fought diseases for millions of years, and we've gotten very, very good at adaptive immune responses. Our bodies are constantly fighting quantum decoherence too, just at a much smaller scale." He pulled out a small vial containing what looked like liquid starlight. "This is a modified T-cell culture, engineered from my own immune system. I've trained them to recognize and attack specific patterns of quantum disruption. They won't cure you, they're not powerful enough for that, but they'll buy time. They'll stabilize your coherence long enough for your own multidimensional biology to mount a defense." Vermoth stirred, his massive form creating pressure waves that made Aliana's ears pop. "Impossible. Human biology cannot interact with our dimensional substrate." John smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. "That's what everyone said about quantum computing interfacing with biological neurons. That's what they said about humans surviving faster than light travel. That's what they said about us being able to communicate with species whose thoughts happen in different temporal frames. We've made a career out of doing impossible things." He met SS Rathakar's burning gaze directly. "I won't lie to you, this might not work, the treatment could fail, it could even accelerate the disease. But I've run every simulation I can, I've consulted with the best minds in human medicine, and the math says we have a 37% chance of success." 37%, the matriarch repeated. 37% more than zero, John said quietly, "which is what everyone else is offering you." Aliana watched the dragon family confer, not with words but with reality-shaping gestures that made her sensors scream in protest. She saw fear in the children's postures, doubt in the way their dimensional wings flickered, but she also saw something else: hope. Finally, SS Rathakar spoke. Why does a mayfly species risk this? You understand that if the treatment fails catastrophically, we may become unstable. My children may destroy your homeworld in their grief." John's face was grave. "I understand, but I also understand that doing nothing guarantees that outcome. And I became a doctor because I can't stand by and watch someone die when there's even the smallest chance I can help. That's not complicated philosophy, that's just being human." The matriarch lowered her great head, bringing those stellar eyes level with John's fragile human frame. For a moment, Aliana thought she was about to witness a catastrophe. A single thought from SS Rathakar could reduce John to constituent atoms. Instead, the dragon matriarch said, "Proceed." 3 weeks later, Aliana stood in the medical bay observation gallery, watching John work. The treatment was ongoing, a delicate dance of quantum manipulation and biological engineering that required constant adjustment. John looked exhausted, his face gaunt, his hands trembling from neural interface fatigue. But it was working. SS Rathakar's quantum coherence had stabilized. The cosmological virus was being contained, slowly pushed back by an army of engineered human immune cells that had no right to function at multidimensional scales, but did anyway through sheer stubborn ingenuity. "Remarkable," breathed Dr. Zinthal, the Vrex medical observer. "The human's treatment is actually succeeding." "Of course it is," Aliana said softly. "Because that was what humans did. When everyone else stepped back, when the problem seemed impossible, when the stakes were existential, humans stepped forward. They didn't step forward because they were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced. They stepped forward because they refused to accept that some problems couldn't be solved. Down in the medical bay, John made another adjustment, his fingers moving across holographic controls with practiced precision. SS Rathakar rumbled something that the translators rendered as gratitude. And Aliana smiled, proud beyond words of her stubborn, impossible species. The species that stepped forward,